welcome to Take Two Radio Junior. Almost forgot what show to mention, which happens when you have a few of them. This is Take Two Radio Junior, and I'm Pam, your host. Hope you all are having a great Sunday. And it's funny, I had no idea, even though I had my grandsons over this weekend, they just left a little while ago, that it's Grandparents' Day. And our guest is reading a story about grandmas. How awesome is that? I mean, that was just a coincidence. I did not set that up. But today my special guest is a children's author. She's also a teacher, a public speaker, and if that weren't enough, she also has an award-winning mobile etiquette school called Courtesy Boot Camp. Please welcome Anthonette Klinkerman. And how are you?
Hi. I'm great. Thanks, Pam, for having me on your show. And what a happy coincidence that it happens to be Grandparents' Day, huh?
For real. I mean, yeah, my kids need to be talked to, the ones they have the children that the grandparents watch and spend time with. Hello, I would have known it was Grandparents' Day if you would have given me a card. But I bet any amount of money they didn't know either. So, I'll let them go this time.
Oh, I think I only knew because Facebook alerted me, and I thought, oh, goodness,
That's
it is.
Where I saw it.
I had no idea.
That's exactly where I saw it, too. It's so funny.
That's funny. Okay, way to go, Facebook,
gosh.
then.
Yeah. And they have Facebook pages too, mind you. So, yeah, but obviously they weren't on them or didn't pay attention. They only pay attention to, I'm sure, their friends and what's going on in their life. So, but I wanted to mention that I'm just tired saying what you do for a living. You do so much for children and teens, and I want to thank you for that. We need more people out there like you.
Oh, thank you so much. That's so kind. And that's really, I don't really have a caffeine problem. I just happen to do a lot of things at one time. And there's so many interesting things to do, and I feel like I'm contributing as much as I can. So it does keep me busy.
Oh, you definitely do. Let's go ahead and touch on a little bit of who you are before we get into the book. First of all, teacher. When did you know you wanted to be a teacher?
Yeah, well, I was a 10th grader in high school when I knew that I wanted to be a teacher. My 10th grade English teacher, Mrs. Corbin, just inspired me to look into teaching, and I did put it on the back burner for a while, thinking, do I really want to do this? I'm not so sure. I mean, it's hard work. And I went back into the corporate world for a while, and I worked for an advertising agency because I really always loved how you can manipulate words to make people want to do things, including buy things. And that lasted for about 8 months before I just realized this is not as glamorous as that television show Bewitched made it out to be. And I just thought, I don't really want to color code files for the rest of my life. So I went back into teaching again, and I've been at it now for 17 years.
Wow. And what grade do you teach?
I taught middle school for a while, for about 10 years, and then I overlapped that with teaching at a night high school. So I'd get up very early in the morning, and I'd teach in the mornings at a middle school, and then I would go and teach an evening class at the night high school for at-risk teens. And I did that for about 10 years, and then I just returned to teaching days at a middle school this year, about a month ago.
Well, you're really brave. I mean, not just for regular school teaching preteens, but then also the teenagers at risk. I mean, that's so awesome. Do you teach like regular school to them?
It is. It's an actual night high school, and most school districts have a mandated program that there's an alternative education program for students that are just not making it in day school for whatever the reason might be. And it was just a calling, if you will. I enjoyed it so much. I actually did go back and visit them the other night on my way home from my day job. I stopped by and said hello, and it's just so wonderful to be greeted like that by these kids that so many other people have given up on.
Yes, exactly. And do they come back to you and thank you for what you did for them?
Oh, yes. I think my Facebook feed's mostly loaded with former students that tell me everything that they're up to. And so to read that, they're managing restaurants now and they're going back to college or they're about to graduate from college is so powerful. So powerful.
It's so rewarding. My gosh. That's wonderful.
It is. There's nothing like a graduation from an alternative education program. It is just lots and lots of tears from everybody.
Yeah. Well, my youngest son is special needs, and he was in special needs classes since the age of 3, and then had problems in high school, so they sent him to the alternative school, and he graduated. I mean, he did very well over there. So, yeah, I thank God for people like you and that teach these kids and get them in a new direction that's going to enhance their lives and not have them end up on drugs or in jail or, all the bad outcomes that could come from that. So I thank you for that.
True.
That's wonderful. I really mean that from the heart. Now,
thank you.
You're very welcome. With taking all the classes that you did with teaching and stuff like that, and is that something that sparked the light to want to write a book, or is that something that you've always wanted to do as well?
It was a dream, yes. I had actually run across some goals that I had written probably about 6 or 7 years ago, and I found that I had wanted to be the author of a children's book because I had written the book and then it sort of ended up in the file cabinet for about 6 or 7 years. After so many rejection letters, you just go, oh boy, this is a lot harder than I thought.
Yeah.
And I put it away for a while, and I always wanted to write, and I always did write. I wrote to entertain myself when I was a lot younger. I'd write stories. I wrote a lot and contributed a lot to a community newspaper. I was actually a writer for our city newspaper here where I'm living now. So I've always written. I just always enjoyed writing and manipulating those words. As I mentioned earlier, it's like, wow, you can make words to do anything to get anybody to want something or to buy something or cry or laugh, or it's just amazing the power of the written word, and I've always appreciated it.
Yeah, that's like people that are in music, the songwriters, that's what they do too. How many songs have you listened to that have brought back memories, whether they're happy or sad or put you in a better mood or just take you away for a while because you don't want to think about anything else. So, and that's to me what books do for people, especially for children and using their imaginations.
Oh, they do. I actually was I have my students right now keep readers' dialogue journals where we're writing about books, and I have some reluctant readers, which I don't understand, but I appreciate that we were all at that point at one time. Just, I don't love reading because it takes time. And he had written to me, I don't understand, why is it that people bother writing books? And I had said to him, do you remember the reaction that what you wrote the other day that you shared with the whole class and the whole class was enjoying it? I said, that's why readers enjoy books and why writers write them, to get that kind of reaction.
Exactly. And I have to share with you that my father was real big on reading and constantly nagged us, of course we thought it was nagging as children, to read, yeah, whatever, But I'll tell you what, in high school, in freshman year, I picked up a book, and this book happened to be over 1,000 pages. And I read that book, and that was it for me. I was hooked. I've read books ever since then.
Well, I have to know what the book was now.
Oh, my gosh. It was, I'll have to think about it. I can't even think of the name right now and who it was by, but I remember my boyfriend in sophomore year ended up taking me because there was a movie made out of it, and I can't think of the name of it. I'll think about it.
Okay. Oh, I know. I figured I'd ask the one question that would draw a response like that.
Well, the book you're reading today is called Battle of the Grandmas, as I mentioned. How did that story come to you? Was it inspired from real-life events?
It absolutely was. When my daughter was very small, she was not even a year old yet, I had received in the mail one day a book from Amazon, And I opened it up, and it was a personalized book. It's called My Very Own Name. There's a picture of an owl in flight on the front of it. And in the book, these animals spell out the child's name. So it's a personalized book. And they talk about the child's birth date and how the animals all come together to make the perfect name for this child. And so I enjoyed that for about 24 hours. And the next day I went back out to the mailbox, found the same size package, and I thought, wouldn't that be funny if this was the same book? And I opened it up, and sure enough, it was. The exact same book from another relative spelling out my daughter's name. And I thought, what are the odds of that happening? And so that afternoon, the poem that Battle of the Grandmas it actually is a poem that was written that afternoon.
Oh, my gosh. Isn't that something? And,
yes.
and did you mention to the other relative that you had looked at that book? Or, I mean, it happened to be a coincidence that they got it at the same time?
Just a complete coincidence. Coincidence. So and I said the books are identical, except one of them uses her nickname and the other one uses her full name. But it was just remarkable that happened. So, of course, in the book I embellished a little bit, but it is based on a true story.
Wow. And again, this made me think of something from my childhood where I had made my Christmas list and put on there that I wanted a beautiful Chrissy doll, and ended up getting 3 of them.
Oh.
And at that point, I was too young to know that maybe somebody might have hurt feelings if you return their gift to get something else, and it made me think now as a parent and as a grandparent, how do you choose whose gift to send back, in exchange for something else? So
exactly.
I'm glad I was the child in that case.
No, you should be. It's a logistical nightmare for the parents because I have to make sure that I delegate different tasks to different sets of grandparents because she has 3. And so 3 sets of grandparents. So I make sure that I don't tell them all the same thing so I can avoid this kind of thing in the future. Definitely, because that's got to be so hard. I just can't even imagine that. And thankfully, that's kind of what we do, if we tell what the kids need. Well, they're older now. Of course, they don't do that so much anymore. But when they were kids, we delegated who would get what from whom. So exactly.
Yeah, you have to do that. So
it's true.
Now, did you do the illustrations as well for the book?
I did not. I was looking around and pricing illustrators because that's one thing that I never was able to draw. I can't draw people. I can do animals, that's fine, but I didn't want this to be an animal story. I wanted it to be real human. So I hit on this wonderful idea, if I do say so myself, but I looked around at the school district where I work, and I thought, boy, there's a lot of talent in here, and wouldn't that be great to have a student artist who's looking to build their portfolio? So I put out sort of an all-call on our electronic bulletin board, and I asked for an illustrator. I said, I'm looking for a student illustrator who's looking to build their portfolio. This is what I'm willing to pay. And I had 4 or 5 students write back. Some art teachers saw it, and they gave it to their students. They wrote me back, and I gave them each a line from my book and said, show me what you can come up from with this idea. And they sent me back some electronic files, and I thought, no. And then I was contacted by a young man, actually, and he wanted to meet me in person. He did not want to send me anything electronically. And I thought, well, that to me says something about his character. Exactly. So I went to the district art show where my daughter had a piece because she's actually quite talented, and I'm trying to get her to illustrate my next book. But he met me at this art show, and he showed me the one drawing in just about the dead center of the book that exists now. He showed me that first, and I said, oh, you're hired. Oh, my goodness, you're hired.
Wow.
So we took a few months of getting together and drawing out things, and he would send me some samples, and I'd say, no, I don't want this, or I do want that, and that's perfect. And that's how I ended up hiring an illustrator.
Well, that's wonderful that you give somebody that's starting out this opportunity, again, helping build somebody's career and enhancing their life. So you are just wonderful. I can't say enough about
you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. He's just the neatest kid, and now, he's got an award-winning children's book to put in his portfolio. So I said, I'm pretty sure your choice of art school is yours.
Yes, definitely. And that was another thing I wanted to say. Congratulations on your award for the book. When did you get that, and how did you feel about getting it?
That was in 2013. I had entered the book in the Reader's Favorite contest. It's a nationwide contest for self-published authors like myself. And over Labor Day weekend in 2013, I was notified that I was one of the 7 finalists. And I thought, wow, that's really cool. I made it to the finalists, because I don't know how many thousands of books they get. There are so many categories you wouldn't even dream of, because we think of, the top 5 or 6, but there are so many more. And so I waited through Labor Day weekend, and we took a nice holiday up in the mountains, and checked email that afternoon before we were coming home, and I found out that I had taken a 3rd place award out of 151 other books in that category alone.
Wow.
So I was just thrilled. And then I flew to Miami that November and picked up the award in the ceremony, which was just fantastic. And then it also won a Silver Star medal, which meant that it had received 5 out of 5 stars in 6 other categories, including marketability, including illustrations, including the plot and the storyline. And it was just a wonderful honor.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Do you kind of sit there and think, how am I going to top this?
Yes. Yes, I'll be honest. I'm thinking, okay, well, we started out really strong. Now what?
Yeah. I don't think you'll have a problem.
Well, I hope not. No, I'm planning on definitely. I've got another couple of books in the works, and actually one about my teaching in an alternative education setting as well, because that was just, I couldn't make some of that stuff up if I tried.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure. Well, I look forward to finding out more about the future books, your future projects. So you definitely keep in touch with us, and if it's something that you to read live on air like you're going to do now, we'd gladly have you back.
Oh, great.
So why don't we go ahead, since we've kept the kids waiting. I know they're dying to hear the story, so go ahead and read your story for us, please.
All right. Well, this is Battle of the Grandmas by Anthonette Klinkerman and illustrated by Justin Aquavella. And it begins like this. There once was a little girl who couldn't live in a shoe. She had so many relatives she didn't know what to do. There were grandmas, grandpas, cousins, uncles, and aunts. To visit her, they had to line up for their chance. 6 grandparents she had across states far and wide, even one in the desert and one by beach tide. One day, in the mail, 3 packages came, a book from each grandma, but all books the same. One grandma scoffed, one sighed, and one frowned. They each wanted her gift to be the best one in town. So the battle to find the best presents was on. The grandmas searched from dusk until dawn. They pointed and clicked, shopped till they dropped. Their quest was important. They couldn't be stopped. Packages and gifts of clothing and more all began piling up at the little girl's door. Up to the ceiling the presents just soared. The house was near bursting and couldn't take more. She got goodies and toys, music boxes and flowers, shoes and knit sweaters. To sort it all would take hours. There were toys that lit up and dollies that blinked, coloring books, tennis shoes, smelly soaps for the sink, dresses and DVDs, stuffed animals and swings, noisy toys, quiet ones, and pink fluffy things. The postman was exhausted, hauling in the loads, but still the grandmas crisscrossed the roads. There was nowhere to put it, no way to track it. Finally, she cried out, "That's it, I've had it. I can't play with all this stuff or even try to wear it. It would make me much happier to find someone to share it. I don't want the presents, toys, or sweet candy. I only want my grandmas to spend time with me, take me to the park, or read to me for a while, do silly things to make me laugh and smile. I don't need the gifts or clothes that are cool. I just want to hear from you each. I love you. So the grandmas stopped their tireless buying and found homes for the presents without even trying. The gifts went to other families and folks because one loving little girl spoke of not wanting the silly, cute trinkets and fluff, but wanting hugs, kisses, and cuddles because those are enough.
Oh, gosh. That's so sweet. I
Thank
love
you.
that. I mean, my gosh, that's what you try to teach your children. And for a child, even though this is a made-up story, but there are children out there wise enough to know that spending time with their parents or their siblings or their grandparents or nieces and cousins is much more important than having a physical item. That was wonderful.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. I had fun writing it.
How hard was it to put that all in a poem and rhyme like that?
Really, it was not very difficult because, believe it or not, that's one of my gifts to my family members is I write them a rhyming ode for their birthdays. So
Aww.
I really like testing out rhythms and making sure things rhyme, and it's just something I've been doing for a long time. So the poem came about as a poem instead of just a story when I first sat down to write it because I like the rhythm and the repetition of making people think about your words a little bit harder because of what they're hearing.
And don't you think that poems for children that rhyme like that make it easier or catch more interest for them?
Truly, I think so. I mean, I think Dr. Seuss was an absolute genius. And the couple of times that my book, Battle of the Grandmas, was compared to Dr. Seuss, I was on cloud nine because I think he was just a genius in getting kids to really listen. And it's the same thing with songs. We like the repetition of sounds and the repetition of a rhyme scheme, and it's just part of our very human nature. I mean, even our hearts beat rhythmically if you think about it.
Exactly. And I've written poems in my life, so that's why I know, that it's not that easy sometimes to find a word to rhyme with the previous word that ended that sentence, that phrase. And that's why I thought, my gosh, that couldn't have been easy because, I mean, that was a long poem and there was so much in there. So you did an awesome job, and I can understand completely why you won awards for that book.
Oh, I thank you so much. I will take that compliment and run with it.
Yeah. Now, for our listeners, this book would make a wonderful gift to a child, whether it's your own child or somebody else's. So, Anthonette, let them know where they can purchase it. I know I saw it on Amazon, but where else is it available?
Yes, they can actually contact me directly through my website, but Amazon is probably the quickest way to get the book. But they can go to www.courtesybootcamp.com, and they can contact me through email there, and I would be happy to arrange to get them a copy.
Wonderful. And I'll have to put your website on my website on take2radiojunior.com. I did put the Amazon link and your Facebook page for Battle of the Grandmas. Listeners out there, please like that page.
Thank you.
You can get in touch with Anthonette that way as well. It's just... I have to get a copy to read to my grandsons, even though it's about a little girl. It still could be a little boy saying these things and talk to them about it. They're now 5 and 6 years old, so now is a good time to start putting those ideas in their head that it's not always, about the gifts. It's about spending time with each other that is more important. Unfortunately, a lot of kids don't realize that until they get older.
No, I know, and unfortunately, the reverse is true too with the adults. Sometimes they're so absorbed in their phones that they're not paying enough attention to their children. And believe me, that does not go unnoticed by those little eyes.
Right, and that's how they grow up being too. They be like their parents because they've learned that. Oh, well, 4 of us went out to dinner, but we all sat there on their phones and didn't talk during dinner time. and so we can do that. That must be normal.
Right.
Well, it is normal, unfortunately, but that's not how it should be. And that's one of the biggest reasons I put this show together, because I'd like the families to get together and listen to, like back in the day when families listened to the radio and then talked about their favorite program, and spend time with each other.
Exactly. Because you just never know how much time you have, and that's why I just, when I go out to dinner and I see the same scene that you described, and there are 4 people sitting there and all 4 of them are playing with something electronic, it just breaks my heart.
Right, exactly, yes. And unfortunately my mom passed away when my third child, which was my daughter, she was 8 months old. My mom had passed away, and she was only 52. She died of breast cancer. And so
I'm sorry.
Thank you. I go through, even though it's been 20-something years, I still miss that. I miss that she can't spend time with my kids, and know her grandchildren, and they don't know her. My oldest son is the only one that remembers her because he was 7 when she passed away. So it's very, very, very important to spend time with your family and loved ones, because you never know what tomorrow will bring.
Exactly, and just like the message of the book, it's not the stuff, it's the time, because that is the most valuable currency we have, is paying attention. Yes,
and the other thing, too, I think is extremely important is that I don't know how much parents do it these days, but my husband and I still read to our grandchildren. We read to our children every single night before they went to bed.
Yeah.
And that will, again, get their imaginations going, but also teach them to read.
Oh, true. Very true. My daughter, she's 11. She'll be 12 next weekend. And she would ask me again last night, Mom, would you read to me? I said, sure. And I will admit right now, because all my students know this now too, is that I feel like I owe J.K. Rowling a debt of gratitude for the Harry Potter series. So I'm finally, at the age that I am, going back and fulfilling a promise to read the whole series, and that's what I'm doing right now.
That's wonderful. And at 11 years old, there's not many 11-year-olds that would ask that, so you're definitely doing something right.
I'm raising a reader. That's what I'm doing.
That's right. And maybe if my dad had told me, read to me instead of telling me to read, maybe that would have been different. Maybe I would have started reading earlier then. Right?
Well, that's what's so beautiful about reading, is that it's never too late.
Never. And there's really no excuse that you don't have a physical book in your hand, because with all these electronics that are out there these days, you can download a book. So there you go. It's very easy.
Amazing.
Have your kids look through the books, and if they like the picture and it's about children, go ahead and download that book and read to them. And I highly, highly suggest you pick up Battle of the Grandmas. So we're at the end of our time, and I want to thank you so, so very much for joining me today and spending time with us and reading your book for us. You're definitely welcome back anytime.
Well, thank you so much, and thank you for what you're doing for promoting reading as well. It's got to start with listening, so I appreciate what you're doing.
You're very welcome. It was my pleasure. You enjoy the rest of your evening, and keep in touch, okay?
Absolutely, I will do that. Thank you so much again for the opportunity, and keep reading, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And listeners, again, you can find the book on take2radiojunior.com, and that's with the number 2. I will also include Anthonette's website on there after the show. There is the Amazon link and the Facebook page. Pick it up. Christmas is right around the corner. The kids will be thrilled. I'm sure they're happy Christmas is coming, and I know it's hard for parents and grandparents and aunts and uncles sometimes to figure out what to get a child when there is so much out there to get, or they already have so much. The gift of a book is money well spent. So with that, I'd also like to let you know that if you are on Twitter, and this goes for the parents because I don't think any of the young children out there have Twitter yet, but you can follow us at Take Two Radio Junior. And then if you would like to like our Facebook, it's Take Two Radio Junior. And if you put in Take Two Radio Junior, you can pretty much find us anywhere. If you follow our show on blogtalkradio.com, look for Take Two Radio Network, and you follow us there, they'll send you an email each and every time that we have a show scheduled, and you won't miss a show. But if you do miss one or you'd like to listen to one again, you can listen to that on Take Two Radio Junior under podcasts. You can listen to it on Blog Talk Radio and also on your mobile phones on iTunes, Spreaker, TuneIn, and Stitcher, all for free. I do not have a guest scheduled yet for September 27th, but I am working on it, and that will be on the website as well. And thank you, everybody, for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed the story Battle of the Grandmas by Anthonette Klinkerman as much as I did. Take care, everybody. We'll see you again on the 27th, and God bless each and every one of you.